welcome to Good Deeds, the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. I'm Mark Crosby of Quincy Access Television. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Good Deeds is a program that, again, focuses on the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. Today, specifically, is a program that looks at the first quarter of 2024 and looks basically at trends. And I'm here with the Register of Deeds. That would be Bill O'Donnell. Bill, welcome back.
Mark, thanks for having me. Thanks to Quincy Access Television for its local programming and all the media outlets that pick up, this show. It's again, it's about the Registry of Deeds, and many times people might not understand what the Registry of Deeds is about. It's a government agency. It's located at 649 High Street in Dedham, Mass. And all the land records for the 28 communities of Norfolk County get recorded at the Registry of Deeds in Dedham. And, they could be the deed to your house, could be when you borrow money, mortgages get recorded. If you're lucky enough to have those mortgages paid off, the discharges get recorded. Or you might just be putting a porch on and you had to get a variance, or the Conservation Commission of your local community got involved. All these documents get recorded at the registry. And, we could bring up, we talk about statistics, but again, we're trying to do this program because the registry really deals with the biggest asset most of us have, which is our home. And these are some of the statistics that will kind of give inklings to people of what's going on in the real estate economy and with the interest rate and just volume. First of all, the first quarter is January, February, March, and the document volume was down. And it's expected to be down traditionally. The winter months, there's not as many sales. But you can really see that the total document volume, we compare the quarters, first quarter, January, February, March of 2024, to the first quarter in 2023. And in 2023, there were 22,704 documents recorded versus 21,980 documents that were recorded this quarter. So that's down 724 as a number, or down 3%. And it makes some sense. What goes into document volume? The deeds. The deed is a 1 or 2 page document. When you sell your house or when you buy a house, there is a deed that the seller's attorney usually prepares, or the bank attorney, and it reflects the seller, the purchase price, and the buyer, and it gets recorded at the registry. There is no sale of the property, and you don't take ownership of the property unless that deed gets recorded. And the deed volume was down, but just slightly. Total deeds in 2023 were 3,252. And in the first quarter of this year, actually was up 10. It was 3,262. So really kind of flatlined, which is not bad, because the economy is still, it's one of those things. It doesn't feel robust. But also, I want to caution that January, February, March are traditionally, down times when it comes to recordings. And what's another aspect of document volume but mortgages? Mortgages, when everyone signs the 30-page mortgage, maybe they don't read it, but it usually has what the interest rate is, what you're borrowing. It could be a 30-year term, a 15-year term, a 10-year term. Those mortgages, when you borrow money, get recorded at the registry to ensure that you pay the loan off. If you don't, you could face a foreclosure. We have some information for people that are facing that later on. But the total mortgages, again, down first quarter last year to first quarter this year. 3,190 mortgages were recorded in 2023 versus 2,960 in 2024. Again, not that far off, down 230 documents, but percentage-wise, that's roughly 7%. What would cause the mortgages to go down? Well, I think the big thing is it's a function of the interest rates. Also, there's less sales, as we mentioned, taking place. If there's less sales, that means people, for the most part, have to borrow money to buy houses. So there's less mortgages because of the sales. There's less mortgages refinancing. You know, if the interest rates, and there, you know, some people thought they would go down. They didn't go down as people thought. And again, our local economy is tied to what goes on nationally as far as the Federal Reserve and what gets done at the interest rates. But the interest rates weren't cut, or it didn't go down as expected. And certainly, if rates do fall in 2024, that may be a factor where you see more and more refinancing taking place. But clearly, people who refinanced in 2020 and 2021 when the interest rates were 2.5%, to 3%, they're not going to refinance given the state of the rates right now.
The Fed raised the interest rate 11 times between March 22 and July 23.
Yes, and again, it was to control inflation, and there's the jury's still out whether, I think people expected that there'd be some interest rate cuts, but that hasn't, it hasn't gone, the cuts haven't come in quite the depth or the number of times as expected. So we're still, watching what happens at the national level, because what happens at the national level certainly affects the local economy. I would point out that Norfolk County and Massachusetts, and again, this show is geared to the laws we talk about, and actually some of the statistical analysis really is reflective of what takes place in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The real estate laws are the same in Norfolk County as they are across Massachusetts, but Norfolk County is a desirable place to live. And again, we look at volume, we look at prices, we mix the commercial with the residential, and it's up. It was up 11%, and the average sale price in Norfolk County, the first quarter of 2024 versus the first quarter of 2023, went from $892,000 to just over $1 million. Again, $126,000 plus increase, so 14%. So prices are still up. Some of that is a function, I think, of commercial, but also the limited housing inventory. And Norfolk County has many desirable communities where people will pay the money to live there.
It's projected that the Feds will cut by the end of 24 and bring it to somewhere around 4.6.
And again, these are projections, and we'll have to see. Projections are projections. I think people will react to what actually happens. So, clearly, some people who maybe bought when the interest rates are higher would look to refinance. If the interest rates go down, that may spur, more buyers coming into the market to purchase. It also may help with sellers who want to upgrade. Some seller who has a 2.7%, 2.8% interest rate may not want to upgrade when the interest rates are so high, and might be just sitting there waiting for the interest rates to go down, so then they can get into the market, sell their house and upgrade and purchase a bigger house, or a house that obviously would cost more.
And of course, the Feds are looking at inflation. They're also looking at the labor market.
And the labor has been vibrant. All the statistics say it's vibrant, and it'll be interesting because Axios, for instance, had some discussions on the spring market, and they had stats which show that that May is a big listing month. Which was interesting. I would have thought maybe April to get it going, but they said May is a big listing month. And so again, the spring market, the second quarter is April and into May, into June, the spring season. So we'll see what happens. But clearly the interest rates didn't go down as expected. Maybe they'll go down by the end of 2024. And as I said earlier, that may spur not just purchases, but also refinancing.
You mentioned just moments ago about foreclosures.
Yes, and again, within our economy, people do struggle, and they may be struggling for a number of reasons. It could be just a bad fortune of someone getting sick, or other economic factors. And we have at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds partnered up with some great nonprofit groups, Quincy Community Action Programs, NeighborWorks, Housing Solution, and actually we have some information and some resources available through the Massachusetts Attorney General's office. So if you go to the Norfolk Registry of Deeds website at www.norfolkdeeds.org, it has the contact information and links. If you are struggling with foreclosure, or maybe the bank hasn't sent you a formal notice. When people get into financial trouble, sometimes the notice doesn't come right away. The banks and the lenders are trying to work with each other, but that's the time to get some help and advice. And these nonprofit groups, again, their job, their mission is to help people, and it is a legal process. So it's good to have a resource not only to guide you through a legal process, but also if you haven't got that notice to foreclose, these groups there's an educational component, trying to look at what's getting people into some trouble. Yes, it could be just bad misfortune, a bad health situation. But sometimes people get themselves in trouble with credit card debt and other lifestyle actions. And what's good about these groups, they will take a look at what the situation is and give some counseling service. And to give you a sense, foreclosure deeds were up in Norfolk County from first quarter to second quarter. The foreclosure deeds, again, you might not seem like many. It was 16 in the first quarter, and it was 29 in first quarter 2024. But that's an increase. And again, those people are struggling. The good news is the notices to foreclose went down. The notices to foreclose by law, if a lender is going to foreclose, and when they file a lawsuit, and it takes a while to get to that lawsuit, they are ordered by the court to file a notice to foreclose at the Registry of Deeds where the land's located. The notices to foreclose in 2023 first quarter, January, February, March, was 1,900. Was 103, and it's down to 90 in 2024. So that's some good news, that at least the notices to foreclose are down, and we like to see that. But I'm sure all those people who, there are people behind these numbers, and please reach out to these groups. You can go on our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org to get some information.
The Homestead Act. Talk about that, and I have a stat here that I'll share with you, which you are, of course, aware of, and I question why this is so. In 2023, there were 9,693 declarations of homestead filed at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds, 14% less than in 2022.
And that is borne out just in these stats for the first quarter. That was the 1,996 number, was in the first quarter, and not that far off, but 1,971, so clearly down in 2024. I don't think it's down from lack of services like the Quincy Access Television putting public service announcements out about a homestead. And for people that don't know, the homestead is written into by your state legislators. It's written into state law. And if you own as your principal residence, you have a right to declare a homestead. It's a 1 or 2 page document where you just simply declare a homestead. And by doing that, it gives you certain protections. When I first started as register, it was $300,000 worth of protection. It has been increased. Again, thank your state representatives and your state senators. It's been increased to $500,000, and there's always bills to try to increase it more. The other good news is the legislature wrote in that there's an automatic homestead. That was the first time in Massachusetts history there was an automatic homestead. So if you don't do anything, it's $125,000, but that gets a portion depending on how many people own the property. For me, the filing fee, which is set by the state legislature, is relatively small compared to other filing fees, $36. I would rather record the document. And how it works is if you own the principal residence by yourself, you just declare the estate of homestead. You have to do it in front of a notary, and it gets signed, and to be effective, it has to get recorded at the registry. We have a customer service center at 781-461-6101 that you can call up if you have any questions whether you have a homestead on there. If you own it with your spouse, or you might own it with a sibling. My spouse and I, we have a homestead, so we declare the homestead, and we have to sign it in front of the notary. That's been a change of the law. Whoever has an interest in the property has to sign on it. But it's a relatively simple document. And the state legislature defines elderly as 62 and above. So if you're 62 and above, they have what they call an elderly homestead. The big thing is to get it recorded. And again, long answer to your short question. I think it's important for people to know what the homestead is. Is it down? Yes, I think homesteads are down, not because of a lack of information. I think it's reflective of the numbers we just talked about. There are less sales. So if there's less sales, at the closing, usually it gets brought up. It definitely gets brought up legally. Hey, you might want to consider having a homestead recorded. So if there are more sales, there are more homesteads recorded. Also, refinancing, as we mentioned, because of the interest rate is down. When people are refinancing, many times the attorney who's representing the lender has done a title search and said, you don't have a homestead. You might want to consider it. Well, as we talked about, mortgage refinancing is down. So a lot of the homesteads, I think, are down because the economy is down. But it's something you really should consider doing. I think, as I said earlier in the show, the registry deals with the biggest asset most of us have. Not just a financial asset; it's an emotional asset. People, you've grown up there, your family's grown up there, so you should take steps to protect it by training. I'm an attorney, and I know sometimes attorneys get scoffed at, but I think if you ask 10 different attorneys, 9.9 would say you really should declare a homestead on your principal residence. And if you're lucky enough to be 18 years old and you own property, you should get a homestead. It's for whoever owns property as their principal residence.
If you're 18 years old and own property, you're doing pretty well.
Much better than when we were doing it, yes.
I want to talk about the registry's consumer notification.
There are consumer aspects to the registry of deeds, many people may not know about. We just talked about one, the homestead. Another one, before we get to the consumer notification service, that deals with documents, mortgage discharges. When you refinance, or you're lucky enough, as I say, maybe the kids are all grown up, my kids are out of college, but you have to put yourself in a position to pay those bills. But other people, they've paid off their mortgages, and so that's great. But you want to make sure that the 1 or 2 page mortgage discharge, which tells the world that that loan has been paid off, gets recorded at the registry. The banks are doing a much better job at letting people know they have to get these discharges recorded, because sometimes when your mortgage gets paid off, they send you the canceled note. They send you back in the day, as my kids said, they used to do a duplicate mortgage. Now they've kind of streamlined it. Well, they send you all this paperwork, and sometimes that 1 or 2 page document is in the pile of papers, and you just want to make sure that it gets recorded at the registry of deeds. If it doesn't, again, it's a consumer issue. Go to our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org. We have a section on mortgage discharges. We have federal and state contact information that says, where has my bank gone? Because you might have borrowed money from a lending institution that merged. Some people forget in the 1990s, some banks went out of business. It gives you state and federal contact information to track down where that mortgage is. If you're lucky enough there's a lot of great community banks across Massachusetts. If you need a mortgage discharge, you just go to them, the local banks. They give you, good customer service usually, and they see that the mortgage has been paid off and get you the mortgage discharge. So that's that's a type of consumer issue I think people should be aware of. Another consumer issue that the registry has been involved in is deed scams. There's been a number of scams. One deals with homestead forms. For $10, this group will send you a homestead form that's completely blank. Don't pay $10 for a form that you can go on our website and download the form for free. But there's been deed scams. Hank Phillippe Ryan got notified from a consumer who was notified saying, hey, you should be paying this $86. It looked like a real estate tax bill. And it was just a takeoff of another scam. It was just pay this $86, what looks like a property tax bill, and they'll get you a copy of your deed. It's a takeoff of an earlier scam that was in the Boston Herald and WBZ Radio did, where for $59, this group would solicit people, get a check for $59, and come to the registry of deeds and get a certified copy of the deed. So if you need a certified copy, you can come to the registry and we'll get a certified copy. Do not be paying $59 for a certified copy of your deed, or this $86 property tax looking bill. And again, I'm grateful that Hank Phillippe Ryan did the show. State Secretary Bill Galvin did a consumer alert on it. We've contacted the Attorney General's office, and they've done a consumer alert as well. We recognize there's disclaimers that this is advertising, but a lot of times people can't read it. It's unconscionable, and I think it tries to prey on consumers. So make sure you don't fall prey to that. But to your question about the Consumer Notification Service, it's another service. We were the first registry in Massachusetts to do the Consumer Notification Service. We try to make the registry relevant to what's going on. The FBI says the fastest growing white-collar crime is property and mortgage fraud. And what this Consumer Notification Service does, you can sign up. I've signed up with my spouse. I get notified of any William O'Donnell document that gets recorded at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. There are times where it's, I'd say William J. O'Donnell or William O'Donnell from Quincy. I'm not the Bill O'Donnell in Quincy. And we, there's some attorneys who were Bill O'Donnell in Quincy. It doesn't pertain to me. I'm William Patrick O'Donnell, and luckily these notices, and again, if you're not, you can sign up for this service on our website. If you don't like getting the email, it's driven by email, and I check. But if you can't check, you get that email, you can call our customer service center, and they can help walk you through. There might be a time where when I get that email and I look up that document, that's not a deed that I or my spouse, she didn't sign it, or an equity line. Wait a minute, we didn't put the equity line on, and that's a fraud, and we haven't prevented the fraud. This Consumer Notification Service through the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, we're not preventing the fraud, but we're getting on it right away, and that's the world we live in. When my dad grew up in Brighton, my mom in Rosendale, they moved out to Norwood, Massachusetts. You bought a house and you didn't think about a title or anything like that, and you just didn't. But we live in a different society, a different world. And a lot of these scams, especially the ones that we're trying to, at least highlight with the Consumer Notification Service, they're taking place in California, in Chicago, in Philadelphia, and other areas of the America. So we're not isolated, so isolated that it's not here.
The Suits for Success. To talk about that, but also talk about an expansion.
Well, we're always looking for partners, and we have a new partner, Office of Youth Employment. It's through Boston City Hall, and they just happened. They were having a big event at the Reggie Lewis Center to like a job fair, and what we do is the Suits for Success. It's been a long time program, and it's not just limited to suits. It's really any good clothing. Again, I remembered the Interfaith Social Services. We have a partnership with them in Quincy. I remembered way back. They said, well, it's not just suits. We need all kinds of clothing, especially women's clothing. So we've broadened it, and it's really volunteer driven. People come by the registry with clothes, and they have to be good clothes, and and we're sort of a facilitator. So we are very happy to have that new partnership because we have a lot of people bringing items to us, and we're just trying to keep up with it. I know we've partnered up in the past with Father Bill's Place and various veterans groups. We're going back to the VA, the Veterans Administration in West Roxbury, and again, thanks to all the veterans that serve. My son serves in the Coast Guard. But some of the agencies, we still have the stuff, the items that you've brought. We're also going out, and we've gone out a few times out in Brookline, Massachusetts, which is part of Norfolk County Thrifty Threads. So we have these groups. We're always looking for partnerships. We've partnered up with so many groups the St. Francis House down in Boston, and the St. Paul Society. So all kinds of groups around the county. 3 veterans groups, the Veterans Administration in Jamaica Plain, in West Roxbury, and also in Brockton. So we go everywhere, not just in the 28 communities in Norfolk County. So if anybody is interested, please contact them. They can email me at registerodonnell@norfolkdeeds.org, or just call the office, 781-461-6116 is the administration office.
Very good. For donations.
Yes, call, we can arrange it.
I do want to
Or if they're looking for donations, looking to be like this group found out about us, the Office of Youth Employment, and so we're always looking for people that are in need so that we can get the items out.
I do want to end this program with another in the series of History Comes Alive. This brought us to the Frederick Law Olmsted Historical Site.
The Frederick Law Olmsted National Historic Site, located at 99 Warren Street in the Norfolk County community of Brookline, Massachusetts, is today administered by the National Park Service. This landmark property is named after Frederick Law Olmsted, who is considered the father of American landscape architecture. Frederick Law Olmsted was born in 1822 in Hartford, Connecticut. He graduated from Phillips Academy in 1838. During his pre-Civil War career in journalism, he wrote about nature and agriculture. After studying landscapes, he joined Calvert Vaux in the designing of Central Park. After which he went on to design large parks around the United States in the 1850s and 1860s, including Niagara Reservation at Niagara Falls, Prospect Park in Brooklyn, the Riverside Park in suburban Chicago, the park systems in Louisville, Buffalo, and Milwaukee. In 1883, Olmsted established what is considered the first full-time landscape architecture firm. Mr. Olmsted moved his family to Brookline, Massachusetts, where he established both his home and professional landscape architecture firm in an old farmhouse on the 2-acre property. Olmsted restored the property and renamed it Fairstead. Frederick Olmsted designed the campus of Stanford University and the University of Chicago, as well as the landscaping around the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Olmsted also designed the 6-mile Boston Emerald Necklace, which consists of 1,100 acres of parkland linked by pathways in Boston and Brookline, Massachusetts. The Emerald Necklace gets its name from the way the planned chains of parkland appears to be hanging from the neck of the Boston Peninsula. Frederick Law Olmsted died in 1903, but his legacy lives on.
Talking about partnerships, I enjoy the partnership with you and getting these pieces put together. So you provide the voice and the text.
Well, I enjoy it, and a voice for radio. Yeah.
Well, we won't. Well, you're on TV here. So
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see
it.
you
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
I want to thank you, Bill, for joining me, and certainly we will meet again here in the studio in the near future.
Thank you, and again, thanks to everybody, and hopefully you found it informative. Thank you.
And thank you at home for watching. And just please remember to support the local access television station in the community in which you reside.